Today I'm in the garden, but I'm not gardening. And is it cold? You bet it is. So I've decided to start clearing these logs that are really just getting in the way. And there's not a better time of the year that people want logs. So the idea is to split them and give these away to friends or sell them. But if you think I'm going to split all these by hand, you must be joking. So today I've got a little machine to show you to make splitting logs an awful lot easier. Except it doesn't warm you up. So I've inherited this large log pile as a part of the land we recently bought behind our house, and this wood has been sitting here drying for at least 5 years that I know of, and maybe a lot longer. So its moisture content is now down to around 12 to 15%, so just right for firewood. Although I haven't really got any plans for this area at the moment, I'm worried that if I just leave it here year after year, it will gradually rot from the bottom up, and I'll end up with a worthless pile of rotten timber, which will be a liability rather than an asset, which it obviously is at the moment. I reckon there's around 18 to 20 cubic meters of logs here, so it's a fair amount and not something I'm going to remove quickly just through this winter. So here it is. This is my brand new 6-ton log splitter, although it doesn't actually look very new because I've been using it recently. And essentially it's a hydraulic splitter that pushes a log into this nice sharp blade and splits it without you having to put the effort in. It's got a 2200 watt motor, and apparently the maximum hydraulic pressure is 20.8 megapascals, which doesn't actually mean anything to me other than the fact that I know from experience of using this for the last week or so that it does everything I want it to. Let's have a quick look at the box. So this isn't an unboxing because I've been using this for the last couple of weeks. I'm just using this for kindling at the moment. So yes, this is classed as a 6-ton log splitter with a 2200 watt motor, log length and capacity. We'll get back onto that in a minute because I must say I don't really necessarily agree with this. 60 kilograms. So this isn't a lightweight piece of kit. And the make is called the Handy, which is a bit of a suspect name to be honest with you, but it actually came through Wix on their online shop and was delivered straight to me. So at least I've got someone that I can go back to if it doesn't turn out to be very handy. Anyway, that's the specification. Let's go and have a look at how it splits wood. Turning on the machine is a two-handed job designed for safety. Your right hand presses a button to start the motor and your left hand operates a lever that opens up the hydraulics to move the piston. The starting point of the piston on the top can be adjusted by a knob on the bottom for different length logs, so it doesn't have to travel back any further than it needs to between cuts, just by loosening this ring and retightening it in a new position. Before I bought this machine, I was thinking that I could maybe override one of these controls so I could operate it with one hand and then use my right hand to steady the log. But since I've started using it, I found it not to be an issue, and as the designers have done their best to make you keep your hands away from the dangerous bits, I suppose I should stick to the rules. If you're thinking that overriding one of these controls is straightforward, then think again. Both need to be released for the piston to return to its start point. So it's not as simple as just tying one of them in place full time while using the other. The one thing I haven't done is to construct the metal cage that comes with the machine that encloses the log. I want the freedom to split bigger logs which won't necessarily fit into the supplied cage. I'm also working on my own here, so if any logs explode during the splitting process, they naturally fly away from me to the right, so getting hit by one isn't really a risk. And although it's not PC these days, and I would never obviously encourage or condone anyone trying to get logs to split almost explosively, when it happens, I think it's rather fun. In a what the hell are you doing, you're going to hurt yourself Colin Furze type way. So that brings me back to the size limit stated on the box. Obviously lengthwise there's a maximum, which is the maximum distance between the pusher ram arm thing and the blade, which is just over 1/2 metre or 20 inches. But the maximum diameter stated, which is 250mm or 10 inches, I think is based on what can fit into the cage if you assemble it. So without the cage fitted, it can take bigger logs, but with the risk of either overloading the machine or a part of the split log falling off onto your foot. Ironically, this risk would be less if you had your right hand you could use to control the log during the cut, but you can't because you need 2 hands to operate the machine. One thing I've learned is that although some logs split fully, quickly, others need to be pushed through all the way through the blade, like this one. And I found it's easier to leave the log in place and put a packer between it and the ram at the back, just to split it and push it through fully. My one minor complaint about this machine is if you don't buy the additional feet and stand and just use it on a workbench or table like I am, then it's not particularly stable back to front because of the very narrow stand it has at each end. Personally, I think this is more important than putting a cage around it or making sure it's a 2-handed operation, or maybe that just serves me right for not forking out the extra for the legs and the stand. I've not found a log so far that it couldn't split and push all the way through, which is good as plenty of my big pile of logs are over 500mm in diameter. Well, tree size, I suppose. This is one of the largest logs I've put through this machine so far, and it's around 600mm in diameter. As I said, I bought this from Wix, their online section. You won't see them in the stores, just on their website. And they're currently £300. Similar versions are easy to find on the internet, but their costs can be higher. And some, although they look exactly the same, state only a 5 tons splitting force. So I don't know if these are exactly the same or not, but it wouldn't surprise me if they all came from the same factory, I just don't know. Which also brings me to its weight. This thing is heavy. At 59 kilograms, it's a beast to pick up, even just to get from the floor onto a low bench, and really takes 2 of you to do it. The other thing I found is the motor on this machine isn't quiet. I've been using ear protection during all the time I've been using this, and probably somewhere in the user manual it tells you to do the same, I'm sure, but it does make quite a racket.
So while I split some more logs, I'd just like to remind you about the proper DIY Patreon membership. Now, Patreon is a way of supporting channels like mine, and by becoming a Patreon member you get some insights and some behind the scenes that aren't shown to the general public. There's also ad-free videos and an additional video that goes out every weekend. There's also regular question and answer sessions where you can ask anything you want within reason, and at just £3 a month it's a great way of supporting the channel and getting some extra content. Anyway, let's go back to the log splitter and have a bit of a montage of the best bits.
on with another barrel full of logs, and the sequence continues. So that is the Handy 6-ton log splitter. That really is a rubbish name, isn't it? The Handy. But to be fair to it, it's done everything I've wanted it to, and so far it hasn't failed to split any of my logs, whatever size I put through it. I would highly recommend building the metal cage around it, so if the log explodes, it doesn't fly everywhere like you've seen me using it today. So if you've got a lot of logs to split, this is a far easier way of doing it, and something that you can do hour after hour rather than wielding an axe, especially when the weather is like it is today. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Remember what I said about Patreon. Come and support the channel, and I will see you next time.